a sonnet is a poem, a 14-line poem actually. It mostly talks about love, but it can still talk about nature and some relationships. You're gonna look at the Shakespearean sonnet that I have written. That is, of course, to simplify, because Shakespeare is such a great mind that we may not easily understand it. So my mind is just smaller compared to him, so perhaps you could dwell on this one. Okay, this is actually my second sonnet, the second sonnet that I wrote. The first one was horrible. It is entitled The Lamenting of a Muse. I wrote this one. There are 4 components of a Shakespearean sonnet. So it's like storytelling, but in 14 lines. So the challenge is, how can you tell me your love story, or what do you feel about your situation right now, your relationships, in 14 lines? Okay, so you have your exposition, the metaphor, the twist, and the couplet. Those are the 4 essential components of a Shakespearean sonnet. It is iambic pentameter. What is that again? Iambic pentameter, that means each line is composed of 10 syllables. Yep, and 5, that means there are 5 iambs, a pair of unstressed and stressed level, 5 pairs of iambs in each line, making it 10 syllables per line. And a Shakespearean sonnet is also following an alternating rhyme scheme. Alternating rhyme scheme. That means the rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Let's take a look at the lines in the poem closely. So you have there, it is A, B, A, B, the first 4 lines. So shores, A, eyes, course, buys. So shores rhyme with course, eyes rhyme with goodbyes. For C, D, C, D, fall, look at the last line, the last word in each line. Fall rhymes with enthrall, moon, lagoon. For EF, EF, relentlessly rhymes with endlessly. Muse rhymes with bruise. GG, last, so that means they rhyme. They have the same sound, the same ending sound. So extends, ends, it's GG. Yes, it's a bit taxing, but I call it challenging. Yes, it is challenging to write this sonnet, very much challenging. The exposition, that's the first component of a Shakespearean sonnet. It's like when you tell a story, there is an exposition. Okay, so the exposition, it serves as an introduction to the sonnet. This is where you are presented with the problem. So there is a problem, or let's just say there is a certain situation in the sonnet that is to be introduced in the exposition. So in this sonnet, why must our hearts be cast on different shores, then reappear the time I shut my eyes? You linger swiftly in my deepest pools, and vanish, leaving only sweet goodbyes. If you're going to read it over and over again, you'd understand that this is going to be a problem, that this is going to deal with a long-distance relationship. Okay, so it starts with a rhetorical question actually. Why must our hearts be cast on different shores? That's a rhetorical question. What is a rhetorical question? That is a question which does not need to be answered. So it's a technique used by writers to stir some sort of curiosity among the readers. So just the first line, you'd know that there are 2 hearts, 2 lovers on different shores. So they are in different places. Then reappear the time I shut my eyes. You linger swiftly in my deepest pools and vanish, leaving only sweet goodbyes. So the time you spend together must be short, very short. And sometimes the lover would just see you in their dreams, in daydreams, or in moments like that. So, and then they would just go on to imagine that you're there, and then when they open their eyes to reality, you're not actually there. Next is the metaphor. The metaphor here refers to symbolism. The symbolism, or the comparison of what is to another, in order to give further discussion on the problem, but poetically. Of course, it is a poem. You have to be poetic, Bring out the poetic top of yours. With every crest and ebb, we rise, we fall. You crawl back to the sea, says Mr. Moon. Where light meets water, such a sight we implore. Drifts you off to an out-of-reach lagoon. Will give you an idea of how the tides work. The crest, that is when the water kissed the shore, so it would tell you that it's high tide. The ebb is when the water goes away from the shore, goes away from land. It's low tide. So sometimes you're okay, sometimes you're not. So circumstances like that in relationships, it's always difficult to fix it because you are not there in person. There are some things that you cannot just talk about, but you could just a hug will do. But since you are far away from each other, you have to find ways to say the right words to fix what is broken. You crawl back to the sea, says Mr. Moon. Well, if there are lovers, there is always an allusion of the moon as something that guides the lovers or that gives the romantic vibe. But in this poem, moon here is like the antagonist in the story. Yes, the moon here is, let's just say, one aspect that drags one of the lovers into temptation. Yes, it's still the light that is being talked about here, but Mr. Moon here is asking the other to crawl back to the sea. So if one is going to crawl back to the sea, you're going away from the shore. Okay? And where light meets water, such a sight we behold. So there is light far away from the shore. So the moon there is leading the other to another group of, let's just say, wonderful horizon that would cause the other lover not to go back to land but stay on water or stay far away from the lover. So it actually gives me this some sort of feeling that the moon here is like that very spirit that the sirens have, the tempting voice. Once the lover has been brought to different horizon, partying, easy-go-lucky life without attachments, and eventually you have time to ponder on. And that's when we go to the twist. So the part of the poem we call the twist or the turn. This is like if the entire poem starts from happy, the twist gives the sad part. Or if it's dark, the twist gives the light part. If the poem is negative, the twist gives you the positive aspect. Okay? So if it is hopeless, the twist gives hope. Okay? So from light to dark, dark to light, positive to negative, negative to positive. Okay? That's the twist. Let's see what the twist is in this poem. But you escaped, stole Charon's boat relentlessly, to see a lasting glimpse of me, your muse, whose feet upon the sand lament so endlessly. You came with drops of hope and eased my bruise. Okay, so the first two parts, or the first 8 lines, it talks about the difficulties of the long distance relationship, the struggles of the relationship. But in the twist, it presents to us how the other, or one of you, or both of the lovers were able to surpass the troubles that they have, to surpass the problems that they've encountered. Charon is a character in mythology, Greek mythology. He is the ferry boatman of the underworld. So are we talking about death here? Not necessarily. We're not talking about Charon here. We're talking about his boat. So, but you escaped, stole Charon's boat relentlessly. That would denote how the effort that the lover is exerting in order to get to the other. So if it says Charon's boat, it denotes the underworld. So there is so much struggle, so much difficulty to see a lasting glimpse of me, your muse, woman. Or, well, in this era, in this modern era, we don't just say lovers as man and woman. So we have to respect the LGBT as well. So I would not say your muse there is just a woman. The woman and those with woman's heart, whose feet upon the sand lamented so endlessly, which means this lover is longing for the other to come back, longing. And the other as well is doing his part, doing his best to make sure that he goes back to his muse. Okay? And you came with drops of hope and ease my bruise. So, are we talking about physical bruises here? No, not. The bruises we're talking about here are those pain that is caused emotionally. So those bruises that are difficult to ease out. So only the one who has inflicted it can heal it. The last part of the sonnet is the couplet. The couplet, this is like a summary of the entire poem. Or it could be the part where you are going to put a punchline to leave some sort of thoughts to ponder to your audience, to your reader. Okay? Punchline it is if you can. Okay. It matters not how far the sea extends. The water always stops to where it ends. So this line, these two lines, they are called a couplet. And a couplet, they are always rhymed. So it's GG. See that? They rhyme. Extends and ends. No matter where you go, no matter where the circumstances might bring you to, you would always go back home. Just like the water that flows from the rivers and creeks, they all go to the sea. So wherever you go, you would always go back home. You would always go back to the one you love. Going to encounter how an iambic pentameter is going to be read. Now, Sonnet 18, this is not, according to critics, according to scholars, this is not purely iambic pentameter, though Shakespearean sonnets are meant to be iambic pentameter. But because of some instances or some circumstances that might change the meaning, or because of the meaning that is stressed in a line or two, so there is a possibility that each line is not purely or strictly iambic pentameter. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to try to read the poem strictly in iambic pentameter. Let's see if there would be changes in the meaning somehow. So now I'm going to be reading the poem in iambic pentameter. I'm gonna pull off my British accent once more. I hope you still respect me right after this one. Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaves are all too short to date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance all nature's changing course and trimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou erst. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Archaic pronouns. Sounds Greek. Archaic. So these are the pronouns that you usually see in classic poetry like that of Shakespeare, Edmund Spenser, the classic poems. Not just pronouns actually, you'd see some archaic words. These words are not used anymore today, but you still see them. There are still other people who use them because they still have not lost their classic elite taste. So here I'm going to present to you a matrix on pronouns. But I'm not going to talk about personal pronouns. I'm just showing you the corresponding archaic pronouns to the modern pronouns. Here it is. Okay, so now observe it. You observe how they are. Hopefully Hopefully this matrix can assist you in times you encounter these pronouns in your reading texts. Let me begin with the nominative pronouns. These are pronouns that are used as subjects in a statement, in a sentence, in a line. So if they're used as a subject, or if this pronoun substitutes a subject, then it is a nominative pronoun. Let's get to know them one by one. Thou. Thou. Let me read the line for you. How it hurts when thou doth all that thou can. In thy mother's eyes, thou art but a botch. That's a bit sad. Yeah, thou there is used to substitute or say you. Subject you. So in plain text, that statement would read as, how it hurts when you do all that you can. In your mother's eyes, you are just a botch. So that's the corresponding plain text for thou. Let's proceed to the next one. The next pronoun is ye. Let me read the line for you. Gather ye rosebuds while you may. Old time is still flying. In plain text, it only says, you gather rosebuds while you may. Old time is still flying. So it is still you. How is it different from thou? Thou is singular. You say you, but you're referring only to one person. You use ye when you're referring to plural, many, more than one person. So gather ye rosebuds. It is telling all of us. Our Father art thou in heaven. We're referring only to one persona. You are in heaven. We're referring to the Father. So we're using thou. Okay, next one. Now we're down to the objective pronouns, the pronouns that are found after a verb, or the pronouns that are receivers of the actions. So the pronoun that is a receiver of the action. Okay, so let's see. The first one is thee. Thee, let me read the passage. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach. It's actually a good poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So thee in plain text, it only says, how do I love you? Let me count the ways I love you to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach. You. So you, it's still you. So there are many yous now. So thou is still you, thee is you, ye is you. What's the difference again? Thou, if you are using it as subject and refers to one person. Ye is subject but referring to many. Thee is you, but is found after the verb or receiver of the action, the receiver of the verb. Okay? So you do not say, I love thou. You say, I love thee. You take that line as an example so that you would be reminded. You say, I love thee, but not I love thou. You see? Now for the possessive pronouns. Yeah, I've talked about possession in my other videos. So ownership, possession, ownership. Possessive, we have thy. Thy vows are all broken, and light is thy fame. Thy there, in plain text, that means only your vows are all broken, and light is your fame. See, it's your. Thy means your. Thy love, your love. See, thy love, your love. Next, for possessive is thine. Thine. Let me read the text. Drink to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine. So thine, in plain text, it says, drink to me only with your eyes, and I will pledge with mine. So thine is still another your, but what's the difference? There are also compound personal pronouns, so you could use thy and add self, thyself. To know thyself, to know yourself. I think that's the only compound pronoun for archaic that I know.
that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight.